Hello, everyone. I hope all is well. This is Isabel Baker, also known as Izzy Meditates, and I am tuning in with Meditation University and Meditation Magazine. I am beyond excited today to welcome Dixie Aiken. She is an amazing human being, and it's awesome how we connected. She has so much to offer our community and beyond. And so we're going to tap into that. First off, Dixie, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing space with us. So that, guys, I want to go over this information that I have here. So first, I want to tell you that Dixie is the owner of North Acre Life Enhancement. She is a QMHP, which means Qualified Mental Health Professional. She is also a CIMHP, which means Certified Integrative Mental Health Professional as well. She has worked in mental health for the last 20 years. So we're going to tap into her brain for a lot of stuff today. She's received training in Reiki, as well as Bach flower remedies, mindfulness, kidding around yoga. She also does sound therapy and is trained to provide Virginia Court approved co-parenting classes. This is amazing. And wait a minute, she was the recipient of the 2024 Best of the Best in Culpeper for Life Coaching. You are amazing.
Thank you. And I just was notified that I won it again for this year.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
I know, I'm super excited.
That is amazing. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go over the list. And I remember when you won last year. You are awesome. And
Thank you.
University and Meditation Magazine and beyond, we are bringing you this information because we want to tap into the knowledge of everyone who is in the mental health profession and teaching us how to maintain our emotions, how to tap into ourselves, and to become a better us health-wise. And so we're excited to have you here today. I've got my handy dandy questions.
I'm ready.
My first question for you is, how did you begin your journey? How did everything start off?
How far back do you want me to go? I honestly, I became interested in mental health and just psychology in general in high school through taking just basic psych classes. And then I've always, I guess, been a helper and a healer.
Yeah.
And I never realized it until later in life, like how some of the things I was doing as a child,
Right.
like, was translating into my career, and ultimately, like when I first went to college, I wanted to be a guidance counselor. And there was some classes that if I took them now, I would love to take them. But back then I was like, I can't do this. So I pivoted and I became, I did family life education and was successful with that degree for a long time, and then ended up going on to get my master's in community counseling.
Wow.
And I had a period of time where I was in a very toxic work environment.
Yeah.
And I was really questioning whether or not I even wanted to continue in the mental health field.
Yeah.
And someone that I had gone to high school with connected me with another person who was a couple years below us. And she had gone through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I spoke with her, and she was talking about all of this holistic stuff and dealing with mental health. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And so that was like 10 years ago. And it's really taken me a long time and a journey to get to the point where I felt like I could launch my business.
Yeah.
I went through some business programs and stuff just so I could understand a little bit better what business takes and how to manage things. And that's when I was able to finally launch North Acre Life Enhancement. It's probably, let me see, geez, I guess it's going to be 2 years this fall, which it doesn't seem like it should be 2 years. But so that's, where my journey is. But like as I was saying, it really, recognizing the stuff that I was doing as a child, talking about meditating. I would go into our woods and just sit on rocks
Yeah.
and like just zone out, and I never realized that what I was doing was meditation, and I was always attracted to stones and crystals, and I was always had a real sensitivity to energy. And, and now I'm like, man, if I had only known
Right.
a little, and, had been able to harness that and, but it might not have taken me as long to get here, but I'm here and I'm excited,
Right. Everything in perfect timing. I remember when I was a child and I just felt like everyone told me their story, but I didn't know, like you said, what I know now, but everything in perfect timing. And we are happy to have you here in our community and spreading that light with other people. So you're in the right place at the right time. So I know that, so we're going to have people who are going to tune in from the university and from the magazine, but we're also going to have people who are going to tune in who don't know much about holistic health. And I wanted you to explain the difference between like traditional therapy as opposed to holistic therapy.
So, in psychiatry and psychology, there are different theories and, styles of working with individuals. And a lot of that is working with the individual, focusing on whether it's the past or the present. And a holistic approach encompasses not just the individual, but it encompasses their immediate family, their community, even to, what's happening in, their culture and in the country, and looking at how all of those pieces impact the individual and vice versa, how the individual impacts the outer rings, and the outer circles. And so you're not, you're looking at all of the interactions with each other, and it can have a profound impact when you do that, because you're not just trying, I've worked a lot with adolescents, and, one of the things that is difficult is when these adolescents are sent to treatment facilities and group homes, we're helping them to change the behavior, but we're sending them right back into the community that they've come from or the family system that they've come from. And, they're not getting the education and the supports to make changes for the child to get successful. So when you have this holistic approach and looking at all of the pieces as far as socially, that can have a huge impact. But also holistic is looking at, as I mentioned, I said, social and environmental. A lot of kids and adults, were impacted by lack of resources in our community, whether it's financial, transportation, medical, and that plays a lot into our mental health as well. I have done a couple of speaking events where I've talked about food and mental health. So if you have a community where we're experiencing a lot more food deserts, where you don't have access to fresh foods, or there's a lot of high prices everywhere, but you're just lacking those resources to get healthy, nutritious, fresh foods. It's going to have an impact on your emotional and mental health, and you're not even realizing it.
Right.
So looking at all of those aspects, and coming up with a plan to help an individual and, whoever their support systems are, to help, come together and be a united front. It's almost like it takes a village type of a.
Right. I love that you say that, because sometimes, in the prison systems, when people come out of prison, they just kind of throw them back in without the resources that they need to heal or to develop properly. And then boom, they're back into that environment. And they reoffend again and they're back into prison. And it's like, oh, well, I told you so. I knew you were going to reoffend, but they're not given the right resources that they need to succeed in this area. So I'm glad that you said that. You offer so much. And so I want you to just like briefly, we have Reiki, Bach flower remedies, mindfulness, kidding around yoga, and sound therapy. If you can just give us a little teeny bit about each one, I'd love to hear.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the kidding around yoga. This is a specialized yoga program that was created just for kids. And I went through the training back in 2018 and didn't really do much with it just because I couldn't find a location or anything, but it incorporates a lot of games, music, dancing, but it also incorporates breathing, meditation, character, components to help the child, understand, different things. And I've been able to do that. It's for a year now at our Park and Recs program. And it's been fun because I have a 4 to 7 year old group and then a 8 to 12-year-old group.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's great, to hear the kids come back and tell me how they've used the breathing and the meditation and how they've shared it with other people. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then the Bach flower remedies. Bach flower remedies has been, it was developed in the 1920s by Dr. Bach over in England. And he began by studying bacteria and how plants can heal people at the root cause.
Right.
And so he came up with 38 flower essences, and you can combine up to 6 of them in a bottle. And I have them all somewhere in my office. But there's different categories. And what I do is I sit down with the individual and I give them a self-assessment, have them check it off, and then we dive a little bit deeper into it. And Dr. Bach's goal was to have a holistic, simple way of treating yourself. And because Bach flower remedies, you could go and you can go on their site and purchase your own essence. Right. But what I do, with my background and stuff, I can help you narrow it down and create your own individual bottle of stuff. And it's not like essential oils. It is an essence where they have been distilled, in, I guess, lack of a better word, in water. And then it's something that you can drink. And you just put 2 drops in your drink 3 times a day. Very minimal to no allergic reactions have been documented. And it's to help you to deal with the root causes of a lot of our ailments, because a lot of our emotional ailments are stemmed from physical ailments and vice versa. Right. If you all of a sudden, you're told that, you have, and some sort of long-term illness or, a heart condition or something, that can impact your emotional well-being. Vice versa, if you're dealing with a lot of stress and anger, then you might end up with hypertension. So it's a very individualized system that helps people work at the root cause. And then you finish up your bottle, like come in, we reassess, and you might not need it anymore. Or you might say, okay, I feel like I still need a little bit of this, but now I want to get rid of this one. I want to add that. Yeah. So you don't have to use up to 6. You might just need 1 or 2. But I was introduced to that when I was going through some of my own emotional stuff and was having issues
Mhm.
with anxiety and stress. And there is the Bach Rescue Remedy, which is the only pre-mixed formula,
Uh-huh.
and it helps a lot. And then later on, I came across this book. I had a client who had Tourette's.
Mhm.
I came across this book. It was called No More Tics.
Uh-huh.
And I was reading, it was written by a doctor in Canada, and I was reading through it. And then towards the end, she was talking about how she had used Bach flower remedies
Wow.
for her clients who had tic disorders.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, I don't work with this client anymore, so I didn't have an opportunity to offer it to him.
Yeah.
But it was just fascinating how, she used that.
Yeah.
Help treat some of the root causes. Because again, one of the big things with people who have tic disorders is that they need to be able to mindfully,
Right.
go about their day and meditating and, really sort of gaining control of their nervous system.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's Bach flower remedies.
Yeah.
And then sound therapy is something new that I've gotten into. And I wanted to include that in the Reiki because they both deal with energy, and our body is mostly water, and sound travels through water. And with the different frequencies, it can work with your natural electrical system.
Yeah.
And then with the Reiki, as I mentioned, I've always been sensitive to energy.
Right.
And again, just working on having something to work at the root of something.
Right.
And not just put a Band-Aid on it. Because if I could help someone unlock some trapped energy in their system, because we really do. When we experience a traumatic event and we keep it in our nervous system, and we might not realize it, but when that anniversary of that event comes around, that's when we start having issues. Why am I so sad all of a sudden, or why am I angry all of a sudden? And again, having those physical ailments that we might not understand why they're happening and how they're all related to the trapped trauma and emotions that we have in our body that can be released through these more holistic and traditional forms of medicine.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Sound baths. Oh my goodness. Just you can feel the energies just moving through your body. As soon as you start to hear that sound go off, it's amazing. I love this. I love all of your approaches. This question, because I feel as if COVID season triggered many mental health things that are going on. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are now on how to deal with the climate that we're in now, as far as anger and emotions. What do you suggest?
I think that we need to look at what is causing our anger. There is a worksheet that I use a lot, and it's called the Anger Iceberg. And it really addresses how anger is just the top.
Right.
And when you think of, especially in America,
it
is more acceptable to display anger than it is to display sadness or any other emotion, because there's much more negativity associated with feeling shame or guilt or depression. And it's unfortunately just more acceptable to be angry. Right. And so we have these smaller emotions like sadness and loneliness and fear. And when we're not able to express them because our family or society is telling us that we're wrong for having those emotions, then it comes out as anger. And so being able to identify, like, what is underneath my anger, is it fear? Like, what am I scared of? Am I scared of losing my job, losing my house. Am I feeling guilty, or am I feeling, because some people might feel guilt that they did not go and see a family member,
Right.
Who may have passed away because of COVID, or the fear of contracting it. So there's all of these little hidden underlying emotions that need to be identified to address the bigger picture of, anger.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like that was like the setup, and now we've kind of moved into, and people are more angry, more upset, and really not knowing how to deal with these types of emotions. And so I think that what you have to offer in a holistic way is a great way to go to trying to explore and figure out what is the root cause of the anger, the sadness, because it could be many things, and it may take time to work through those. Yeah. My next question is concerning children and mental health. The challenges that they are having today, what advice would you give parents on actually identifying any mental health challenges?
There's so many things that you can do. Yeah, and I think one of the things that I always encourage parents to do, because this seems to be the witching hour, is right after school.
Yes.
When people come, when they're coming home. And because kids are in school for an extended period of time, and they're trying to be on their best behavior. And then when they come home is safe for them.
Right.
And, they're releasing that energy because, especially if they feel that they're safe and that they're in a trusted environment, that you sort of let loose. And then if we are compacting that with extracurricular activities, right after school, they don't have a time to decompress. And they are not physically, socially, emotionally developed to do all that stuff like we are.
Right.
And being able to set them up to have, even if it's like 15 to 30 minutes of time where they can just go and be a kid and just let loose. And, sometimes that might mean creating a little cozy space for them to go to. And it's also a good time for, because parents need that break also to transition. And so helping your child transition in that way is very important. And then also utilizing tools such as, we've all seen the different smiley, all of the little emojis. They're like, how are you feeling today? There's so many different ones out there that you can download and use. We are not born knowing how to communicate our emotions. And so parents have to teach their children how to identify, okay, I understand you're angry or you're sad or whatever. So and help them to identify it by using those tools. And it can be challenging because you're learning that, it's just like parenting. We learn by how we were raised. So if a parent was not exposed to, being able, having somebody ask them how they're feeling and what they need, they might not be able to do it for their child. But, I'm not the only parent coach, or, there's lots of us out there that do this.
Right.
So find someone that can help you. And there's lots of tools online, but I think that that's probably the biggest thing, is to find a fun way, whether it's, pointing to pictures, to check in with your child, if it's, in the morning or at bedtime or right after school, to normalize it, to discuss what their emotions are. And also to remember not to punish your child for having an emotion, because emotions are normal. Emotional, everyone has emotions, and it's just how we respond to the emotion that is either good or bad. So use those moments to educate and coach your kid how to express those emotions in an appropriate way, because the emotion isn't bad. It might just be, if your kid's hitting the wall, and like, okay, put them into boxing.
Right.
Find a more appropriate outlet for them.
Yeah.
So that they can get it out.
Yeah. And do it together, right? Like together, or, sometimes they just want to bond. I have an after school program, and when we would begin our practice, they were just like, because so immediately they would be silly. At that point in time, you can't teach them mindfulness or anything. So we would do like a silly dance or something like that. So I love the ideas that you have with the kidding around yoga, and, trying to get that in the community and have children try that out as well. Mindfulness and mental health. How important is that?
It's so important because our brains are on overdrive all the time. We are on overdrive. And everything's electronic now.
Yes.
And we're stuck inside where you have all of this exposure to this artificial light. And mindfulness and meditation is reconnecting us to our environment, whether it is being outside and walking barefoot in the grass, or just using our five senses to, identify what is happening around us. It is so important to slow us down, to help us think before we act, to help us understand, what we're experiencing, helps with communication. And, especially with people who are under 25, because, our brains don't fully develop until the age of 25. Right. And now I just heard that they were saying that for males, sometimes it's not until 27. And, so again, we are creating the pathways in our brain to slow down, reconnect, and understand what's going on. And when we do that, we're able to respond versus react. Yeah. And we're able to, say, okay, is this a real threat? Or am I just, dealing with it a different way? It's like a pause button. Yeah. For us. And then also helping us to reset. When I teach breathing, I always tell people, I said, this is like rebooting your computer. Right. Right. Because it does have a significant impact on our nervous system, to help recalibrate itself, and it's all connected, with the energy. I always tell clients, along with emotions not being bad, but they're also chemical and electrical impulses in our body. So why wouldn't you want to use, things to regulate your electrical in your body through breathing and, the Reiki and sound therapy. And sometimes people do need to take, prescription medications. But there's some people that feel that the medications aren't working, or that they have a reason why they don't want to take them. So, trying these other forms is a great complementary, practice. Right. To, find that root, deal with it at that root cause. Right. Right. I like to keep you here all day, but I have one more. You're my spiritual friend. I just love. I'm just soaking in all this information. So, what would you advise someone to do, whether child or adult, if they're feeling like they're going to they're having a mental crisis? What steps should they take first? We now have 988, which has replaced the suicide hotline, and people need to know it's not just about it's not just for suicide or suicide thoughts. It is for anybody experiencing any type of mental health issue, whether you are the person that's experiencing it or if you are a family or friend who is trying to support somebody. Okay. So you can always reach out to them. They also have, for people who are hearing impaired, they have the website, so you can access it that way. And then in the state of Virginia, we have what are called community service boards,
Right.
and they offer free crisis counseling and services. And, you know, find out what your state offers as far as crisis supports. And if you are someone who, if you might not be experiencing the crisis, but you are the friend or the family member, don't be afraid to ask people questions. That is a huge myth, that if I ask questions, they're going to do it. Ask them, you know, especially if they're saying that they just, you know, that they might be feeling like they want to harm themselves in some way. Ask them, like, well, what are you going to do? How would you do it? What, do you have a plan? Because if they can answer and tell you, like, okay, well, I'm going to go and, you know, take a bunch of pills while you're at work, that's serious. You need to get them help immediately.
Right.
Versus someone who might just be like, oh, I don't really mean it. You know, I'm just irritated, you know. And so you know, still want to get them support, but that might be more through, you know, a counseling service like the CSB or using 988.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't neglect it. You know, if you and don't be ashamed. And, you know, there's the stigma of, you know, all of, you know, mental health and, you know, unfortunately, you know, being too sensitive and stuff, you know, mental health, there's nothing sensitive about it. It's emotions, it's feelings, you know, it's a human experience. We all have it. There's nothing to be ashamed of, you know, and so reach out for help and get it. And go to appointments. That's the other thing, is there's oftentimes people will set up appointments and then they don't follow through. So make sure you're following through. If you're the loved one or friend, make sure that they're following through. Be there and support them, and know that it might take a while. It's not going to take just one appointment. It could be a long, lifelong journey, and just be patient and kind to yourself and to others.
Yes, kindness goes a long, long way. I am so grateful for your wisdom, for you taking this time to share space with us today. Is there anything that's on your heart and mind right now that you'd like to leave with our community?
You know, I think we just need to keep doing what we're doing. The world needs us right now. And, you know, so we just need to get out there and make people aware of all of the wonderful gifts that we have, and because people are wanting it and they need it. So
yeah, I love that. So one other question is, are people able to book some of these appointments with you virtually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do offer virtual and in person for people who are in our area.
Okay.
But yeah, I do offer virtual.
And your social media outlets, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at North Acre Life Enhancement, and my website is also northacrelifeenhancement.com.
Awesome. We will make sure that everyone has your information. I thank you so much for sharing this space with us, and I'm hoping that we can share space again soon.
Oh, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I've enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. And Meditation Magazine family, be sure to tap in if you have any questions. Her social media information will be available, and reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. And remember, kindness is the way. We love you guys.
Thank you.
See you next time.